On a warm summer night in 1969, a small American car lined up beside the biggest names in Detroit: a Chevrolet Chevelle SS, a Plymouth Roadrunner, a Dodge Super Bee. The crowd barely glanced at the odd-looking machine wearing an AMC badge. They assumed they already knew the outcome. After all, American Motors Corporation was the smallest of the Big Four. It wasn't supposed to build monsters. It wasn't supposed to build legends. The air smelled of racing fuel and burning rubber. Engines rumbled like thunder. Money exchanged hands as bets were placed. Nobody was betting on the AMC. But what almost nobody knows is that hidden beneath the hood was one of the most underrated V8 engines of the muscle car era. An engine that powered a machine capable of embarrassing far bigger rivals. An engine so strong that racers still hunt for its blocks decades later. And yet today, most enthusiasts can name the Hemi, the Boss 429, or the LS6 before they ever mention it. So how did AMC create one of the fastest muscle cars America forgot? And why did an engine this good almost disappear from history? The answer begins with a company fighting for survival. By the late 1960s, the horsepower war had turned into an arms race. Every manufacturer wanted the biggest engine, the quickest quarter-mile time, and the loudest headlines. Chevrolet had its 396 and 427 big blocks. Ford unleashed the Cobra Jet and Boss engines. Chrysler terrified everyone with the legendary 426 Street Hemi, officially rated at 425 horsepower, but widely believed to produce far more. AMC wasn't supposed to compete. American Motors was smaller, poorer, and constantly underestimated. It couldn't spend millions creating exotic race programs. Every engineering decision mattered because every dollar mattered. The company had been formed in 1954 through the merger of Nash Kelvinator and Hudson Motor Car Company. While the Big Three enjoyed massive profits and marketing budgets, AMC fought for every percentage point of market share. Their reputation centered on economy cars, practical transportation, sensible choices for sensible people. That image was about to change. But AMC had something its rivals often lacked. It had engineers willing to think differently. One of the most influential was Roy Abernethy, whose push toward performance transformed AMC's image. Along with talented engineers and designers inside the company, AMC realized they couldn't outspend Detroit's giants. They had to outsmart them. That decision led to a completely new generation of V8 engines introduced in 1960. Instead of carrying over outdated designs, AMC developed an entirely fresh engine family with a thin-wall cast-iron block that was surprisingly compact and relatively lightweight for its displacement. It shared common external dimensions across multiple displacements, making manufacturing cheaper while allowing engineers to increase power without redesigning the entire engine. The engineering team, led by David Potter and other talented minds, designed the architecture from scratch with performance and durability in mind. They studied what worked, they learned from what didn't, and they built something special. The lineup began with the 290, followed by the 343, and eventually grew into something far more dangerous, the 390, and that's when the real story began. The AMC 390 displaced 390 cubic inches, or about 6.4 liters. It used a bore of 4.165 inches and a stroke of 3.574 inches. That relatively short stroke gave the engine a willingness to reeve that surprised many competitors. The over-square design meant the pistons traveled a shorter distance per revolution compared to long-stroke engines. This reduced piston speed at any given RPM, allowing the engine to breathe better at higher revs while maintaining excellent low-end torque. Compression ratios varied depending on application, but the high-performance versions reached around 10.2:1. Factory ratings listed approximately 315 horsepower with a 4-barrel carburetor and around 425 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers sounded respectable. The reality was even better. Like many manufacturers of the era, AMC underrated its engines for insurance reasons and marketing politics. On the street, experienced drivers quickly discovered the 390 pulled much harder than its official figures suggested. Independent dyno tests often revealed numbers significantly higher than advertised. Some enthusiasts claimed the real output approached 340 horsepower or more. The torque arrived almost instantly. Press the throttle, and the car didn't simply accelerate, it lunged. The 4-barrel Carter AFB carburetor fed the beast with impressive efficiency. Intake manifold design promoted excellent cylinder filling across the RPM range. The cast iron exhaust manifolds weren't particularly exotic, but they moved air effectively while keeping production costs reasonable. But there was a problem. Horsepower alone wasn't enough. Anyone could build a fast engine that survived 1/4 mile run. Building one that lived through repeated abuse was much harder. That's where AMC's engineering deserves far more credit than it usually receives. The block featured deep skirts surrounding the crankshaft area, creating exceptional rigidity. This wasn't just about making the block look good on paper. Deep skirts reduced crankshaft flex and vibration during high RPM operation, extending bearing life and preventing catastrophic failures. Engineers used large main bearing caps and a forged steel crankshaft in high-performance versions. Forged connecting rods and heavy-duty internals gave the engine remarkable durability under sustained high RPM. The main caps were secured with high-strength bolts and located precisely to maintain bearing alignment. This attention to detail paid dividends when engines faced sustained abuse. Oil control was another priority. High-volume oil pumps integrated into the timing cover supplied consistent lubrication, helping prevent the oil starvation issues that plagued some competitors during aggressive driving. The oil pan design incorporated baffles to prevent oil surge during hard cornering and acceleration. This seemingly small detail prevented bearing damage that destroyed many powerful engines of the era. One AMC mechanic reportedly joked, "You'd break the transmission before you'd hurt the bottom end." It wasn't entirely an exaggeration. The engine's robust construction made it a favorite among drag racers who discovered the block tolerated significant increases in horsepower with proper preparation. Machine shops began noticing something interesting. AMC blocks responded exceptionally well to performance modifications. The castings had extra meat in critical areas. The cylinder walls could handle boring. The bottom end tolerated power increases that would grenade lesser engines. Word spread quietly through the racing community. Still, none of that mattered if nobody noticed. AMC needed a car worthy of the engine. Then came the NACA/Rambler. Most people have never even heard the name. Officially introduced for 1969, the Rambler looked almost playful compared to the intimidating muscle cars parked beside it. It rode on AMC's compact Rambler platform, painted in bold red, white, and blue, with outrageous graphics inspired by drag racing. The paint scheme alone turned heads. AMC ran vertically down the rear quarter panels. A massive hood scoop dominated the front end, gulping air with serious intent. Some laughed. They stopped laughing after the green light. The Rambler weighed roughly 3,150 pounds, significantly lighter than many intermediate muscle cars carrying similar displacement engines. That favorable power-to-weight ratio transformed the 390 into something terrifying. Compare that weight to a Chevelle SS 396, which typically scaled around 3,600 pounds, or a Plymouth Roadrunner at approximately 3,500 pounds. AMC had inadvertently discovered the secret formula. Big engine, small car, chaos. 0 to 60 arrived in about 6.3 seconds. Quarter-mile times fell into the low 14-second range at approximately 100 miles per hour in completely stock trim, while skilled drivers under ideal conditions dipped into the high 13s. In 1969, those weren't merely respectable numbers. They were enough to embarrass far more expensive machinery. CarCraft magazine tested an X-size/Rambler and ran a 14.2-second quarter mile at 101 miles per hour. Motor Trend achieved similar results. These weren't promotional numbers from AMC's marketing department. These were real-world tests by independent journalists. You can probably guess what happened next. But the truth is even crazier. AMC partnered with legendary drag racer Hurst Performance to develop the Size/Rambler package. Hurst already had enormous credibility thanks to its shifters and high-performance collaborations with other manufacturers. The Hurst name appeared on the car's special shifter, linking AMC directly to performance credibility. It was brilliant marketing because it leveraged Hurst's reputation without requiring AMC to spend millions building their own. The partnership instantly gave AMC street credibility. Only about 1,512 X-size/Ramblers were produced during its single model year. Production numbers remain somewhat debated among historians, with some sources claiming slightly different totals. But regardless of the exact figure, everyone agrees the car was rare. That rarity would later become part of its legend. The car came standard with a Borg-Warner 4-speed manual transmission, heavy-duty suspension, and fat E70 14 tires trying desperately to contain all that torque. Inside, passengers found bucket seats and instrumentation focused on performance. This wasn't luxury, this was function. Yet even after the SC Rambler's success, AMC wasn't finished, because another car was about to carry the 390 even further, the AMX. Unlike the SC/Rambler, the AMX wasn't a stripped-down drag special. It was something unusual, a true two-seat American muscle car. Built on a shortened Javelin platform with a wheelbase of just 97 inches, the AMX combined compact dimensions with serious V8 performance. With the 390 under its hood, the car felt almost oversized in terms of power. The AMX debuted in 1968, making it one of very few two-seat sports cars ever produced by an American manufacturer. While Chevrolet offered the Corvette, AMC positioned the AMX as a more affordable alternative with genuine muscle car credentials. The styling was distinctive. A long hood and short deck created classic sports car proportions. The abbreviated wheelbase made the car feel nimble and eager. Road testers loved it. Car and Driver praised its acceleration and called it a poor man's Corvette with a working-class attitude. Hot Rod magazine admired its brute force character. Sports Car Graphic noted the unusual combination of American V8 power in such a compact package. Drivers often described the engine's personality as brutally honest. There wasn't much refinement, just torque. Massive, relentless torque. The 4-speed manual transformed the experience even further. Slam second gear, bury the throttle, and the rear tires protested immediately. First gear became almost unusable on anything except perfectly dry pavement. The engine simply overpowered the tires. Second gear chirped. Third gear required respect. This wasn't a polished Grand Tourer. It was a street fighter. The interior offered bucket seats, full instrumentation including a tachometer, and a sporty steering wheel. Build quality was typical of AMC in that era. Functional rather than luxurious, but honest. Performance numbers impressed reviewers. 0 to 60 arrived in approximately 6.6 seconds. Quarter-mile times hovered around 14.8 seconds at roughly 95 miles per hour. Not quite as savage as the lighter/Rambler, but still deeply impressive. And then AMC took things even further through racing. Although the company never possessed Ford's massive racing budget or Chrysler's factory-supported army, AMC actively campaigned Javelins in Trans Am competition. The Trans Am series required engines displacing 305 cubic inches or less, so the racing Javelins used disc-stroked versions of AMC's V8 architecture rather than the full 390. But the engineering lessons learned benefited the entire engine family. Drivers including George Follmer and later Mark Donohue helped elevate AMC's reputation. Under the guidance of Roger Penske's team, the Javelin eventually captured the 1971 Trans Am Championship. That championship stunned the racing world. Little AMC had beaten Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, and Plymouth on road courses across America. Those race engines differed significantly from the production 390S, but the lessons learned about airflow, durability, and high RPM operation strengthened AMC's engineering credibility. Every lap proved the company belonged. Every victory demonstrated that smart engineering could overcome budget limitations. The 390 also found its way into other AMC products. The full-size Ambassador received the engine as a performance option, transforming the large sedan into a surprisingly quick highway cruiser. Imagine a four-door family sedan that could embarrass muscle cars at stoplights. That's what the Ambassador 390 delivered. AMC even installed the 390 in the Rebel, their intermediate offering. These cars didn't receive the same attention as the SCA/Rambler or AMX, but they offered similar performance in more practical packages. A Rebel SST with the 390 could carry a family in comfort, then shock unsuspecting competitors when the light turned green. But there was another challenge hiding beneath the surface: emissions, insurance, government regulation, and they would change everything. The muscle car boom reached its peak around 19. Then almost overnight, the landscape shifted. Insurance companies noticed skyrocketing accident rates involving high horsepower cars. Premiums exploded. Young buyers suddenly couldn't afford the very cars they dreamed about. A 22-year-old with a 390 powered AMX might face annual insurance premiums exceeding the car's monthly payments. The math simply didn't work anymore. At the same time, tightening emissions regulations forced manufacturers to reduce compression ratios. The Clean Air Act accelerated changes across Detroit. Catalytic converters appeared on the horizon. Unleaded fuel became mandatory. Horsepower numbers began falling. By 1971, compression ratios dropped dramatically throughout the industry. Engines that once ran above 10.1 now struggled around 8.5.1. Power disappeared. The glorious horsepower war was ending. AMC adapted by enlarging the engine into the famous 401 V8 for 1971. The new engine used a 4.165-inch bore with a longer 3.68-inch stroke, increasing displacement while maintaining the same basic architecture. The philosophy was simple: reclaim lost power through additional displacement. Officially rated around 330 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque in early form, the 401 became AMC's flagship performance engine. It powered the Javelin AMX, the Matador, and other AMC products through the mid-1970s. Racers loved the 401 because it offered even more potential than the 390. Ironically, the success of the 401 slowly overshadowed the remarkable 390 that made it possible. Production of the 390 quietly ended. No dramatic farewell, no massive celebration. It simply faded into history while the automotive world moved on. For years, the engine languished in obscurity. Junkyards crushed them, collectors ignored them. Enthusiasts chased Hemis and Boss Mustangs while AMC V8s gathered dust. But enthusiasts never forgot. Engine builders eventually realized something special. The AMC V8 architecture possessed incredible strength. Racers extracted 500 horsepower, then 600. Dedicated drag builds eventually pushed far beyond that, using strengthened internals, aftermarket cylinder heads, improved camshafts, and modern fuel systems. Companies began manufacturing performance parts specifically for AMC V8s. Aluminum heads appeared. Stroker kits arrived. The aftermarket finally recognized what had been there all along. The original design had been far stronger than many people realized. Collectors noticed too. Today, authentic C/Ramblers command astonishing prices. Exceptional examples have sold well into six figures, especially cars retaining their original matching numbers 390 engines. At recent auctions, pristine/Ramblers have approached $100,000 or more. That's a remarkable appreciation for a car that originally sold for around $3,000. Original AMXs, equipped with a 390, have become highly sought-after collector cars as well. Clean examples routinely command $30,000 to $50,000, with exceptional cars pushing even higher. Not because they were the most famous, because they survived, because so few were built, and because people finally began recognizing what AMC had actually accomplished. Restoration parts availability has improved dramatically. Enthusiast clubs maintain detailed documentation. Online forums share technical knowledge that was once nearly impossible to find. The AMC community, though smaller than those supporting Ford or Chevrolet products, is passionate and knowledgeable. Most people think muscle car history belongs entirely to Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, and Plymouth. That's only part of the story. AMC proved something remarkable. You didn't need the biggest engineering department. You didn't need the largest racing budget. You didn't need endless corporate resources. Sometimes all you needed was smart engineering, fearless designers, and an engine built with enough strength to surprise everyone who underestimated it. The AMC 390 wasn't the highest horsepower engine of its era. It wasn't the rarest. It wasn't the most glamorous. But it combined durability, compact dimensions, impressive torque, and genuine real-world performance into one unforgettable package. It powered cars that punched far above their weight, cars that made bigger companies nervous, cars that quietly earned respect one race at a time. The engine represented everything AMC stood for during that era: resourcefulness, determination, the refusal to accept limitations. And maybe that's why its story still matters. Because history often remembers the loudest winners, not always the smartest fighters. The AMC 390 V8 never became a household name like the Hemi or the Boss 429. But for a brief, glorious moment, it powered some of the quickest, toughest, and most overlooked muscle cars America ever produced. It proved that engineering talent could overcome limited budgets, and that raw determination sometimes matters just as much as raw horsepower. It deserves to be remembered, not as a footnote, but as a legitimate competitor that earned its place in muscle car history. If you enjoyed uncovering this forgotten chapter of muscle car history, let me know in the comments which underrated American engine deserves the next deep dive. Should we explore the Oldsmobile 455, the Buick Stage 1, the Pontiac 428? And don't forget to subscribe, because there are plenty more hidden legends waiting to have their real stories told.